review is sponsored by this crochet poncho. This is the first project I've ever finished. Check it out. What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more crochet project updates, check out Minty Crafty on Instagram. Speaking of first-time projects, I'm Mint Salad and I saw Critical Drinker's Rogue Element. It is written by Travis Grant and Will Jordan. If you haven't seen this movie, I'll spoil it for you. This movie opens up, we're seeing a woman in a cage, and then the transition sees another blonde woman. She's shooting at a bunch of people in a parking garage, and I guess her target is getting captured, and instead of shooting her target, she's shooting a bunch of people for some reason. Also, nobody has any sort of motivations that are significant emotionally. And whenever there is some motivation, it's all set at exposition dumps that I can't possibly care to understand what's happening. There's a wasp right there. Uh-oh. This movie just seems like it's so focused on getting to the action scenes that it just wants to give such generic dialogue, corny dialogue, that the people who wrote this thought sounded cool, and okay, we gotta add this in so we have some motivation to kill these people in later, but the motivations are half-baked, thought-out ideas, and wow, there's a lot of wasps in this area. Everyone's just killing each other, instant KO death. Wow, it just seems like there's an excuse to murder a bunch of people. It's a generic terrorist plot. It's like, oh, well, we gotta stop these terrorists. We gotta stop them from doing the bombings. We gotta stop them. But also, all the action is concentrated in the very middle of the movie. It's only 45 minutes. It's actually 35 minutes long because it ends at the 35-minute mark. And there's 2 post-credit scenes, and they're each about a minute long. And I guess it's supposed to add some world building. Like, what did they do after this? Wow. And they go in and save a guy that was kidnapped. And also, now that the opposition is dead, the main character can go and grab his wife. Instead of like going in and running, grabbing his wife and being all cool and such, and that would be fun to watch. No, you just kill all the bad guys and he casually walks in and grabs his wife. And I'm like, I don't really care. Man, this movie is so boring to watch. It's just people standing next to each other talking about stuff that happened off screen, and it would have been a lot cooler to see it. And I also watched the Cope video that Critical Drinker made about the process of making this. All the motivation of the characters were in a big block of text at the very end of the movie. Like, for example, this particular actress, all of her motivations were going to be explained in this big old monologue. And because she couldn't do the monologue, he had to change it so it was easier for her to say. It's effectively just getting rid of all of the monologue needed to explain her backstory. But I'm like, why was it written this way? You could have had some sprinkled backstory throughout the entire movie. But instead, her character hinges on this big wall of text that got cut anyway, but it made it a terrible, even more terrible experience. Even if she did do the dialogue correctly, it would have not been fun. It would have not been pleasant. Also in his Cope video, it's like, oh, films cost a lot of money. I'm like, whoa, what about Kevin Smith? He made Clerks with only 30 grand. You had about 10 times that, and you made this trash. Clearly, he was focused on it looking like a movie with the lighting, and the shots used on some of them were just like, why would you do this shot? Why are you going a very harsh up angle shot so I can look at his flabby chin and nostrils for a character? That's what, is this supposed to be a bad guy or good guy? It's not clear why they're using this shot choice. It feels like he's trying to facsimilate what he thinks needs to be in this movie in order to get to what he really wants to see in a movie, which is action. But none of the emotional stuff is there. Nothing to motivate the action whatsoever. It's just, well, we want these things to happen, so these characters are going to do these things that cause people to hurt each other and kill each other, which is what the writers of the movie want the movie to be. It's just like a big old action movie with unneeded violence. If you need violence, you gotta write why there has to be violence. And you gotta write, well, the humans don't want to resort to violence unless absolutely necessary. Or if a person does want to, you gotta write why they want to do violence. Like with their backstory, or their psychopath, or I don't know, show them coming out of prison, breaking out of prison to show that they're ruthless. I don't know. You could have done literally anything. But this movie's action scenes take place in a warehouse. It's clear that they rented one warehouse and then just moved the camera within one set, but then the warehouse is shuffled again. Like, they only had so much space, so they had to like reconfigure the warehouse to make it seem like it's bigger than it actually is. It would have been alright if it was just like the one warehouse, but I felt like whoever did the set dressing, whoever was telling the set dresser to do the rearranging felt insecure about they only had one warehouse, they only had one shooting location. Also in the Cope video, they said, well, we got 10 times the amount of funding that we asked for, so we felt like that we had to make a bigger, longer project. I'm like, no. If you raise money to make this movie for a specific thing, then deliver upon a specific thing. Don't feel like you're obligated to make something different that because you got more money, oh, you gotta make it bigger. No, you don't have to do that. This is why this movie sucks. I don't know what your idea was, what your 15-minute idea would have been. Based on what's happening right here, right now, it doesn't seem very interesting at its core. But I certainly don't like what direction this movie went in, because a bunch of characters, not knowing where they came from, who are they in relation to anybody in the story? Who are they all working for? Why are they all murdering these people? You gotta tell me all of those things, and the movie tells me none of those things whatsoever. The person who created it constantly complains about how movies suck now, and how girl bosses in movies, they just be existing. But then in this movie, they actually add 2 girl bosses. Oh, but we don't want to specifically make it look like we're doing girl bosses. Was in the actual Cope video, which means it was on top of their mind to avoid such comparison, and they failed miserably at it. Also, the pacing is really off. Everything's flying by way too fast. I'm like, why is everything happening? What's this? What's that? Why is this happening in correlation to this? Why is this character doing this? Also, all the characters don't really have anything going for them in terms of individuality. They feel solely for the service of the plot that needs to be told, which is an excuse to get these puppets killing each other. But the quote story being told is just so lazy, the most generic thing that you can put on a script in order for the script to move forward so they can start hitting each other. Oh, you did bad now. You're the target now. This feels like a Tom Cruise ripoff, a James Bond ripoff. All the action movies that are a good ripoff. All smushed into one ball, and you took the cream from the crop and then dished the cream, and you're left with the trash. This movie deserves this place in a landfill. This movie, oh boy, it's made by a critic who learned the hard way how hard it is to make a movie. There are bad movies out there, but this individual, this individual decides to cope about it, or making a video about how hard the process is, and also mainly complaining about, well, we had to change the writing, so that's why it's bad. And I'm like, no, if you had the original writing, it would still be bad. It would be really bad. The core of it is just not good. Practice makes perfect. Jeez, there's bugs everywhere. I don't like bugs. Also, this critic finally understands the difficulties, all the things that you have to deal with when making a movie, and why there are rewrites and all that fun jazz. That's why these exist. He finally understands. Do I recommend this movie? No. Don't waste your time. It's not something that you should have in your life. It's a waste of everybody's involved's time, money, energy, and overall it's just a bad vibe. You shouldn't watch it. Avoid it at all costs. I've got to give this one, oh geez. It just feels too rushed, and it feels like it only wants to deal with the action with none of the setup to get there, to justify the action. So, I'm gonna have to give this one, it's a 3.75 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one. The platform really likes that. If I haven't reviewed it on the channel, there's a chance I haven't seen it at all, so that's why you gotta get them Patreon requests at patreon.com/ASEPresents. You can support the daily grindiness by going to autisticblues.com, and until next time, I'm Mint Salad. I'll see you later, my side croutons and bacon bits. This movie made me not want to do grilling anymore, so I'm getting rid of my grill.